Um, this is a pretty big task to represent the pieces of art that emerge from someone you know closely. It is hard to meet with criticality the things that the people in your immediate square, because you want to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to start off with a criticism of this album. I'm going to say something I do not like about it. It's too short. I feel it within me now as I begin to want to describe this album, and it works me up. It makes me emotional. This album, because it means so much to me, and I come from a unique place in trying to describe it because I have a certain amount of unusual circumstances in my discovery of it, and I am so very fortunate that I ever got the opportunity to. And I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to my dear friend Asher Masur. And I don't know that I don't know how to really start this or really get into this album without first confronting that I'm coming from a place of extreme bias, extreme personal bias. Not because I know him personally, but because I love this album. This album, Tree, was released on the 12th of April, 2024. And I listened to it for the first time probably a month after it came out. Okay? That's important to understand. So, I'm going to use words that I often avoid using because I feel they are very strong. Oh, Jesus. Sorry, all my stuff's falling over. They're very strong words, and they are not words to be taken lightly, but to me, this album is a stroke of genius, a stroke of absolute brilliance, and not because it does anything grandiose, but its discipline and containment are so forward. You cannot talk about Tree by Aftermath of Dolonia without speaking of the discipline that the composition holds. The entire power of the record, short as it may be, all 16 minutes or so, all of the power comes within the writing, and what a strongly written record it is, because it embodies the personal torture may be a strong word, but as someone who has gone through breakups, torture may be the word of utmost adequacy, which I can describe it with, right? And so, to use prescription and postscription, prescriptus, I would say that this album was written in the light of something treacherous happening to Mr. Masur, and that being a breakup. And the thing with breakups, when I went through a big breakup, probably the year before, or 2 years before, in 2022, my last really huge breakup, which I took to heart. I didn't have anything. Like, my friends, sorry, my cell phone just buzzed. Anyway, my friends were lousy for the most part. I had a couple really great gem friends that I really am thankful for, and I'm friends with those which I speak to this very day. And when I didn't have them, I was surrounded by people which I would consider of awful character. These people so treacherous in that the gentleman who says the most detestable group of people in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I think he would shift his leitmotif, to describe these people in which I am describing who have left me to the wayside. I was undergoing a lot personally. It was a lot of personal strife. So I had came home and I wrote a record called In My Room. Wrote is a strong word, most of it's just pooling. It's one of my early double albums, and an album I hold very dear to me because of what it did, what it represented. It was my coping mechanism, and I put so much into it. And I feel this way with Tree. I feel like Tree is in the same vein. I obviously cannot speak for Mr. Mazur, and I would never want to do that. But I was extraordinarily depressed when I first listened to this record, and it was really comforting, and I think this theme of naturality, this theme of grassroots, planting trees, getting your hands into the ground, and having like this sort of terrain entanglement with the soul. It's extremely important to the theme of the album. The theme and the sound, the timbre of the album is by no means grandiose, but it's remarkable. It's remarkable to someone like me that this simple sound and this, I don't know, just guitar, light percussion, and just Mazur's voice, it fits these well-written songs so well, and I don't think they could be executed in another way. They couldn't be executed by a bigger band trying to do more and still retain the ethos, the sonic ethos that accompanies the recording. Not to say that these songs can't be played. Obviously, these songs can be played. These are songs that I have never tried to learn how to play myself out of respect for the craft and the artistry that is in these songs. But these songs can be replicated in some way, shape, or form. Compositionally, a lot of them use traditional chords, not like crazy extensions or crazy modulation. They have a sort of logical progression. There's not much in the way of solos, but it's not for a lack of technical proficiency. It's because it fits the song. And there are points where there's these like sort of contrapuntal, maybe would be the right word, but there are these contrasting sounds, and there is a presence of percussion on the album, and you know there are a variety of different chords, different progressions, and despite the simplicity of the almost folkish Americana of it all, despite that, it's still like a beautiful representation of amazing songwriting, and a lot of that is lent to the lyrics. I have some inside information about Mazur that I'm not going to put into here because I want this to be accessible, but what I know of him, I know he's very technical and proficient with words, and a lot of these images that are put into the lyrics, they are representative of literature. Most lyrics in the modern day, they are not really conscious of meter, and I don't think Tree is super conscious of meter, but it's very spoken. It's very iambic in a way that I wish a lot of my lyrics would be. I wish a lot of lyrics in general would be. It's not sing-songy, but it is iambic, like I said. And what I mean by iambic is it's very conversational. Like, it's got that sort of epistolary feel too, where it's like you can open any of the songs. You can look at like Trials or Passenger or Places or Fever. You can look at these songs and you can read them like a letter. Like, I'm staring off of a cliff, and at the bottom lies closure and a welcome home kiss. Yeah, it does have like the internal rhyme of kiss cliff, but it's not sing-songy. It's not spake sing-songily, and I really admire that, because it creates this authentic sounding lyrical overtone that carries throughout the entire album. It's like Mazur is speaking directly to you, and what he's talking about through a lot of these tracks have to do with like a breakup and having to start all over, having to plant the tree. The tree is this, it's this carbon corpus of Missouri. He's replanting himself because when you grow in stride with someone and you create this sort of vivacious symbiosis, it's hard to restart. And I mean, I get that, you know, like I haven't had to do that in a long time, and I'm extraordinarily thankful that I've been able to be I've been able to maintain fidelity to my own thoughts. But I get the inkling sometime, and then I have to ground myself with a record like Tree, because what it means here, this entire album, what this breakup means is like you have songs like Places which are just description, but also you have songs like, you know, Trials, which you have the choice to plummet. He's staring off of a cliff, and I think the extended metaphor you could look at Tree through as this sort of naturalistic. The soil isn't everything. The topsoil, the O layer, isn't everything, and then you have deeper layers of soil until you hit the mantle, or you hit the crust, right? However you want to look at it, however deep you want to look at it, and I like this. I like this analysis of terrain rather than the ocean, which I use a lot of oceanic imagery, or like areas of the sky, because it forces this perception, the signifier and the sign, the semiotics of it all. It forces a perception that is very I don't know, it's very with the heart, it's very core, it's what's the word I'm looking for, it's very not like it's like cardiac, but pertaining to like the semantic meaning, or like I don't know, but it's a reflection of the world we live in, where, you know, we're surrounded by people all the time, and we pick and choose out of these herds of people who we, you know, decide to go deeper with, and we have to grassroot that entire foundation when that goes awry. And that's very natural. And back to the soil, like I said, you can choose to sprout, or you can choose to go deeper. But the thing is, Mr. Masor, he doesn't want to be Rise. He doesn't want to be Michael Rise. He doesn't want to be the Dendrines, right? He doesn't want to be in the ground deep. It's like this kind of searching for an answer. And the album cover says a lot, and I don't know, I don't like to be over analytical about imagery and things like that, because sometimes album covers are just album covers, right? You have Hurley by Weezer, an album cover is just an album cover, but this is different. There's hand drawn illustrations, and kind of self insertions onto this natural scene, and you know, they're pages of a notebook, I think, if I recall, or like graph paper of sorts. And to me, the importance of something like that can be infinitesimal depending on how much you look at it. Like when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. And I'm like thinking about it more, like how it goes in tandem with the album. You have this tree that's broken down, and you can see that as whatever. Like there are so many interpretations of the tree being broken down, and you know, talking about a relationship, what that tree in particular is, and what it means to plant a tree. Like you can interpret that in so many different ways, and what I see it as is when you go through life, you're wandering with someone, trying to discover who you are, and you're capable of doing that. You also create the acorns of change. You create the acorns or the dry fruit of a new tree that can potentially sprout. I've been in some relationships myself, and I mean I have changed a lot because it's also an exercise. I'm not gonna be nihilistic and say it's an exercise in futility, but it's an exercise in communication. It's an exercise in fortitude. It's an exercise in endurance. It's an exercise in many things, and um, some for the better, some for the worse, I would say. But what makes them um, better, I guess, would be you learn how to talk through problems with people, and of course not in a romantic context, but you also learn how to connect with people. You guys harbor the same sort of things. So when you have to chop that tree down eventually, if things go to shit, right? When you have to chop that tree down, when things go to shit, you have to decide which acorns you want to keep, plant, and cultivate. And I like this. I like this very physical thing. It's kind of like an out of body but in body thing, where I can see Mr. Mazur on his hands and knees in the woods planting this tree physically. He's got like a plaid, overcoat on or whatever. Or I think plaid's a word to use, or like a flannel or whatever. He's got a hood on. It's the middle of whatever month. It's the middle of Herbst at some point. He's planting this tree, and he's trying to cultivate a new world, and he's trying to create this image of himself that is true to what he thinks is, but he wants it to grow healthily and to be maybe separated from what would be the parent tree, right? Maybe I am looking too into it, but I guess that's the purpose of an album review. I'm looking at everything here, and I don't know. I see this sort of epistolary thing, and I see this connection with building things from nothing personally, but also physically. Planting a tree in places. One of my favorite songs ever. There's this section at the end where the lyrics are going on, and there are journal entry whispers in the back. That's fucking genius. Stroke of absolute brilliance. And like, to me, that's heartbreaking because I know what that's like. Like, are you serious? And not that part in particular, but like the writing journal entries, just doing something, instead of sulking. And that's so imperative to me. It's so imperative to have that, like, honesty and connection. Maybe not to even know that those are journal entries, and I mean I know that, but you feel like there's something underneath the surface here that you want to connect with. There's that inclination to connect with the listening experience here. If you're listening above or below a surface level, there's this inclination, like there's that natural curiosity to be like, okay, there's something going on here, and that's super essential to me. Just a moment. So I've got the lyrics to 31 here, and it's, "Here I'll stay alone and still, for your return I'm waiting till. Your foggy lights come clear to me, for I forever belong to thee. So hear my thoughts, they call to you, the meadows whisper, the forest's clue. If what's true for me is true for you, my orange heart will wait to bloom." Again, I kind of have this sing-songy approach to saying things like this. This is written in some meter of sorts, and if it's not done intentionally, it definitely was executed in some way, shape, or form. But that's not the point. yeah, another thing where it's like written as sort of like a letter, and there's unbridled importance in this forestry again, and what I'm deriving from this is there's kind of still that hope. That hope is lingering on. The song is called 31 Days, and 31 Days has some importance. From what I get of 31 Days, I don't think I have any like esoteric knowledge or whatever, but I think this comes from something written 31 days after the breakup, and when life is good, when as subjective as that is, when life is good to a person, I feel like time just soars, and for me that's how my last semester went. Like it felt like it went super quickly because I thought I was doing well, and I wasn't plagued by expectation, not external expectation, because overall I'm doing well and I guess I'm taking care, but internally I've placed upon myself, I have placed these expectations that I can't think I can't believe right now that they are feasible to live up to. But when life is good, that time seems to soar by, and then when you're deep in those depths, right, and when you're in the Toda Betrübt, it's every day is a year. Every hour, even hours pass, days pass, doing something menial. Just I feel like it takes forever. Like um, I just I don't I don't know how to describe it in words almost, but it's like that 31 days probably was miserable. Like right now, the way I feel as is, where I'm going through whatever I'm going through right now, I feel like every day I'm anxious for every day, and I'm also extremely nervous for every day, and I'm nervous for what will happen in the next 2 weeks. If you asked me a couple months ago when I was doing relatively strong, I was like, yeah, I could have been certain, but I don't know what's going to happen. And this is the 31 days after this breakup. It seems to be this sort of longing, this hopeful longing, and taking every taking every piece of hope you can and running with it. Like Meadows Whisper, Forest's Clue. These things aren't something you can make empirical or tangible. They're the hopes, the vestiges of hope that exist within a person when something bad happens, when something traumatic happens. I use the word traumatic in, I guess, a psychological sense, where it's something that sticks with you, not like psychological horrific trauma. But yeah, that's it's kind of scary in a way what hope can do to a person, especially when it's shattered. And I mean, a lot of that is I don't even know. A lot of that is natural, and a lot of that is overemphasized by some people. I used to be an exceedingly hopeful and confident person that things were going to get better, and sometimes they just don't. And sometimes you have to move on, and sometimes you have to find other battles to fight, and sometimes you have to look at what you're doing and be like, is the sacrifice worth it? And the last song on the album, I should also reiterate that some of these songs are spoken. You have songs like Held Back, which are sang, but 109, the final song, is one of those songs that is spoken. House is an important song on the track list. I believe it is the shortest, but it's an important kind of segue through the album. House is it's short, but it's this melody that flows into Trials 31 Days Held Back. It's the third song on the album. You open with Fever, and Fever kind of sets the tone. Fever, overwhelmingness. I think it's the most lyrically dense. It's either that or Passenger. Fever or Passenger are the most lyrically dense songs on the album. But I think Fever personally is the most lyrically dense. Excuse me, the most lyrically dense, and it has the most conceptual lyrics. For example, a cliff and open field, all gates into our thinking. From stars to battlefields, there's really no escaping. Reality's a scam until you truly start thinking. I'll never comprehend until I finally stop clinging. That's thematically dense. That's thematically dense stuff, man. And the importance of that is it's a moment of honesty between the hope. And there's nothing wrong with being hopeful, but in an album riddled with realistic images and these natural images, to insert hope, and we have the word stars in here, and I feel like stars to battlefields, right? There's that antithesis where you have the beyond, and then you have the cruelty of the world in actuality. And in the immediacy of trying to comprehend these sorts of concepts, you have to understand that hope stands out above or below, depends on your views of positivity, stands above or below the reality. And I think to some extent this extended antithesis is authentic. It's extraordinarily authentic. Obviously, the album itself is you can't fake this kind of artistry, and that is of extreme importance to me. But yeah, the imagery is extremely dense and authentic, because to be hopeful is to be natural, but the hope itself isn't natural. It's synthesized. It's a coping mechanism for loss. You're filling that hope with something you want to be there, and the comfort of the possibility of something once more existing is, I mean, you can't say that's unnatural, but you can say it's not anything based in anything empirical. It's not rooted in the physical. It's not something that you can qualify or quantify, but just that it exists because something prompts it to exist. The need for that sort of comfort. And yeah, so back to 109 Days. I believe this was written after 109 days after the breakup had happened, or it's 109 days of something, right? And it's an insignificant number, right? I don't think there's anything super mathematically important or significant, and if there is, I don't think it was chosen consciously, but it's a milestone. It's not 100 days, it's not 150, it's not 200 days, but because it was manufactured to be a milestone within the album, because it's derived from that day in particular, it has to be important. But to most people, those 31 days, I don't know the exact date when 31 Days was written, but I guarantee for me it was just another day, right? But to Mazur, these days are extremely important, and because of that, they're extremely important to me now. Not the dates themselves; they hold no significance to me, but these landmarks, their temporal implications and what they signify to Mazur, they're extremely important to me now. But there's something so ordinary about Tree that makes it, and that's great with naturality as a theme too. But there's something so extremely ordinary about 109 days and a month, 31 days. There's something so unruthless about that. There's something so relentful about the actual slowness of time in this regard that makes it special. It's extremely special. The notation of it is special here because well, it relishes in the unimportance, I guess. Not really. Says it's about to be 109 days. I really can't believe it. I thought that this would be so much easier than it actually was. How cocky of me. I honestly really should have expected something like this, though how could I have? And we got that hope again, and we have it blending with the suddenness. It's a jab. It's a jab. Time is a jab. The naturality of coping. I wish it were so easy to turn your brain off and be like, this doesn't matter. But because I've been here before, because I don't want to forsake it and be like, this is just another breakup album. I have to insist that I should ruminate and I feel the melancholia that Mr. Mazur was going through, because it's so authentic and it's so real. I would be doing a disservice by not giving it its due flowers and its due attention and giving it that sort of pensation. And I really like this end to the album because it's not a happy album. It's not. It's miserable. It's fucking sad. It's a fucking sad album, and it's so masterful in its writing that it's almost an elbow to the face, because the reality is it's there. It's pervasive. You don't live without. You can't listen to these songs without the context, and it never hides itself. It doesn't hide in the instrumentation. It doesn't hide in the sonic quality. It doesn't care. Asher doesn't give a fuck if you're happy listening to this record. I almost feel like it would be insulting to be happy listening to an album like this, because there's no reason. There's no joy in this topic, and he knows that. I know that. You know that. There's nothing joyful about a breakup unless you're escaping something. But this sort of breakup, I feel, is the most common one. Shit just doesn't work. And that's the tree. That's the tree. Every blemish on those birch trees, all of their wounds, all of their blisters and boils, where the bark is exposed, and every line, everything, that's natural. We would all love a perfectly white tree that doesn't have any blisters or boils, with perfect skin. I would love to not have acne. I would not like to gain weight. I would not like to experience sorrow. But tough shit. Tough shit. Nasher knows that. I know that. You know that. Because you're not fucking stupid, and this album doesn't assume that you're stupid. This album knows, right? This album is connection. This album's lyrics are written, though some of the grammar is, not highfalutin, because that's an insult, but some of the grammar is written, it's written with poetic license, right? So it's not written as a conversation, but it is a dialogue. It's a monologue, right? And a lot of the lyrics in this album are directed at this ex-girlfriend, so you're supposed to put yourself in his place. So it's pragmatic in that regard, or it's expressive in that regard, however you wish to see it. But also, you can put yourself in the shoes of the person it's being directed to as well. It's like, I mean, not maybe in a romantic sense, but how difficult can it be to put something like this out there, have your most intimate thoughts and ideals put out there for judgment, and maybe not receive the attention you deserve? Because that's what happened with Tree. That's what happened with Dear Orion. That's what's happened with Missouri in general. He's made these beautiful songs, better than any fucking song I could write, and better than a lot of the shit that it is released. And, you know, what happened 109 days after, you know, Tree was released? I thought that this would be so much easier than it actually was. How cocky of me, right? I thought perhaps if I'm someone that wants attention from music, which I don't think Asher falls into that regard, but you have to take into account the types of people that exist in, you know, the interpretation of whatever, right? The interpretation of music, or why the ethos of why they make music. But, you know, if I go through all this effort of recording an album, which he did, and he polished it, and it sounds amazing, and it's incredible, but it's not given the due attention, it's like, wow, that hits you, man. I would have, you know, I'm sure any of us could use a few more monthly listeners. I'm sure any of us could listen to anybody we like the music of and be like, fuck, I wish this had more attention, right? Unless you're listening to the biggest stars. But even the biggest stars, they want more. These people, they want more. If you're unsuccessful, you want success. And if you're success, you want to be the best. And when you're the best, you want to do something that no one else is doing. And when you you know, do something that no one else is doing, then you want that to be the best because that's your subjective. And the world doesn't work like that, right? And this album is how the world works, but it's also a reflection of hope. It's a reflection of honesty. It's a reflection of what do I do now? Like, I'm maybe not lost without another person, although that has been my thoughts before. It could have been Mr. Mazur's personal thoughts, but I don't know, right? But maybe it is like that. Well, what the fuck do I do now? I didn't want this. I didn't want this burden of having, you know, all these thoughts, having this you know, horrible thing happen to me that I didn't want to happen. I didn't ask for that. I didn't want that. I would have rather resolved. I didn't want to have to chop down the tree, because after you chop down the tree, what do you have a stump, and now this stump is here. This tree is, I guess, a stump in a way, because no matter what happens to this album, I've purchased this album. I don't know, like, if it gets deleted off of anything. Mr. Mazur could scrub this album off of existence, but it would still exist cognitively, and that's the stump. Oh, those songs don't mean anything to me anymore. Those songs are still written. They still exist. I have the proof in front of my face that these lyrics existed. And I'm living proof, I'm living testament that this album meant something to someone, because I am that someone. You think I haven't listened to this album, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 times? You'd be wrong. I've listened to this album so many fucking times, and none of its meaning is ever lost on me, because its integrity, honesty, the composition, the message it's sending, the rumination I can do with it, it's there for me, and I can't ignore that, you know? And that's the stump, and I feel bad that stump has to exist in this way, but I can't pretend that stump is a bad thing for me, because for me, it's completely selfish, but I have this album that I love so very much, and I would never want to lose it. I cherish this album. I could never, ever, ever in a million years imagine a world where I didn't listen to Tree and I didn't have it there to comfort me in many ways, and that's yeah. That's Tree, and that's important. And whether he likes it, whether I like it, whether the world likes it, whether society likes it, those stumps are going to be there unless something happens to your memory. And then you have another problem that needs facing, right? And then you create problems for the world around you when, things like dementia happen, but that's aside the point. The correlation between the importance of the songs on Tree and reality, it's frightening in some ways, because I know if I was ever in this position, I would be writing another In My Room, and if I wasn't writing another In My Room, then something bad would happen to me, and that's an honesty I'm willing to accept. And I still write these songs when bad things happen, or things that make me upset, or things that shock me. I still write these songs. 12 did willfully drown themselves off of Cainozoic. Wasn't written anything that happened to me. It has very little to do with me as a person. But I read a primary source from the transatlantic slave trade and how heartbreaking it was. And that quote itself, and the context in which it exists, troubled me. And that troublesomeness led me to write a song one of my own personal songs that I have tremendous respect for, because I just played. And that's what this is. I don't think Mr. Mazur was. I think he commodified the what he had written into a property of cantional value, of carminal value, but I don't think this entire experience was fabricated to make an album. I think this could have been very well a last-ditch effort to try to make sense, because that's what we do. And yeah, planting the tree is either the first or last step in overcoming. When I went through that breakup, I'm not sure I ever planted the tree again. I think I took the stump and I let the stump become me, and I became the mycorrhizae. I became the dendrines. I became the detritus of the soil, a dying stump. I think I became the carbon. And I have tremendous amount of respect for Mr. Mazur to take an album like this, and or to take an album like this and make another album after Zero Ryan, a more, withstanding that hopefulness but still maintaining the honesty. I might do a reflection on Dear Ryan someday, but Tree's importance to me cannot be understated. And yeah, but yeah, to make an album like this and to buckle the straps and be like, I'm gonna plant the tree. I'm going to try to move on from this. I'm going to try to curate, an ecology for myself. I'm going to try to be me again. And then the time comes again, and he's doing whatever in his life. He's doing good. He seems to be happy again. So when that tree grew again, maybe you can see it as a branch of this new life that he has, or maybe he planted a separate tree and didn't have to chop the old one down, or maybe he did chop that old one down. The point is that it takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of stuff, it takes a lot of panache, it takes a lot of candor, resilience, and ardor to sit back and be like, I gotta get control again, and not become complacent in your own misery, and actually become something worth being. And to which I would say that maybe I've never done. I would never say of myself that I'm someone worth being, and I'm okay with that sort of integrity within myself. I just do what I can to get by, but not him. He's incredibly brilliant. He's incredibly smart. His writing is incredible. It's touched me deeply. He's a handsome young man, right? But to me, Tree isn't an album written by my friend. Tree is Tree, and I listened to this album long before I became friends with him. So, but yeah, I listened to this album. It's not an album written by a friend, but it's a genuinely good. It's a masterpiece. It's an obra de maestra, and I just I don't have anything else to say. I don't think that's Tree by Aftermath of Dolonia. I can't explain to you what it's like to listen to this album without you listening to it. So I encourage you heavily to go listen to this album. It's only 16 minutes. It's the greatest 16 minutes of your life. I have had lame sex that has lasted longer than this album. So, you know, go give it a listen. Thank you for watching. I am your friend, Evan, and thank you for sticking in. Peace.